Hello, and thank you for clicking on this video and watching it and dealing with it. Anyway, this is very unscripted. I figured that, since I'm approaching, I don't know, several hundred music videos that I've uploaded or guitar videos, I might as well give some kind of background as to who I am, what I do, uh, where I come from, things like that. Um, so this is very unscripted. This is very off the cuff. You can hear the background noises of my living space, and I got a fan on, and I have air conditioners on, and I have air cleaners on. My health is kind of iffy, so I need all these things, and I'm actually a stroke survivor. I had a heat stroke a long time ago, and 2006, and so I can't take any kind of heat. And right now it's about 85 degrees outside, approaching 90, so I've got to have my living space cooled. So please excuse the noises, and let's go. So these are some of my guitars. I'm a guitar player. I've been a guitar player since 1978. I started with a guitar that I got from a friend who just gave it to me. And I'm going to be going through my guitars and how much I paid for each one of them, what I did to them, maybe where they went. I don't know. But I don't have all of the guitars. I have pictures of all the guitars I've ever owned, because I've certainly forgotten about some of the ones I've owned. I've owned a lot, and I've been in many bands. I was in my first band in 1979, and then throughout the 80s I was in another band, the early 80s, and then I was in another band in the late 80s, and it just goes on and on and on. So here goes. My first guitar was this. Look at this wonderful piece of hardware with its single pickup, and yeah, very 60s. It's a Barth guitar, B-A-R-T-H. It was given to me by a friend whose parents tried to force him. This isn't the actual one. Some of these pictures are guitars, just pictures of the model, the exact model that I had. So this isn't my actual guitar, or wasn't my actual guitar. So this one is, I had the guitar, it was exactly like this. So anyway, so my friend's parents tried to force him to learn, an instrument and stuff. And, they were just the kind of parents who did that kind of stuff. And so he didn't want to learn, so he secretly gave the guitar to me. I snuck over to his house one time. He snuck the guitar outside, threw it on the ground, and I went and grabbed it and ran off with it. And I had it restrung, or actually I had the first thing I did with it was I bought a string. It was the high E string. It was only 75 cents, and it was all I could afford at the time. I couldn't afford to string the whole thing, and it was missing bits of hardware and things like that. And so I got that first string on and learned how to play the notes on the fretboard through that one string, the high E string. And my mother at the time saw me playing and realized that I've got a talent for this kind of thing. And so she said, okay, well, I'm going to have it restrung and fixed up, and then we're going to get you guitar lessons. So basically that was awesome. And she got it restrung, and restrung incidentally by the same guy who gave me my one and only guitar lesson I've ever had in my entire lifetime. And I was poor. I grew up, rather poor, lower middle class or whatever. And so I couldn't afford expensive stuff. I never had an amp until like the mid 80s. That's when I actually had my own amplifier. I was just using stuff that I created out of reel-to-reel tape decks and things like that had microphones where you could monitor, and I would plug the guitar in that way. So I created my own little amplifier system until the 80s. So anyway, she had the guitar restrung. I took one lesson. I got extremely bored with it. I couldn't afford it anyway. The guitar teacher, while a great friend of mine, he was teaching leads before chords, and I wanted to learn how to play chords. I didn't want to learn how to play like 2 or 3 strings. I'd already been doing that. Now I had 6 strings I could play on, and I couldn't even go anywhere on them because I was still playing 1 or 2 strings. So I got bored with that, and I went to the library and picked up a book called Play Guitar Today. I can't remember if it was a Mel Bay book or something along those lines. Mel Bay put out a whole bunch of guitar books back in the 70s and the 80s on how to play guitar and things like that. So I got that done, and I started to learn chords. And I learned how to play, my very first song I learned how to play was Sloop John B by the Beach Boys. Simple song. It's a G, C, D, and that's how it runs. And that's basically where that went. And I went from there and learned different chords, learned how to change between them, and kept moving along. So I got sick of this guitar, and I traded it in for something else that had like 20 switches on it. And I don't have pictures of that guitar, but it was okay. And that guitar didn't do me very well, so I kind of got sick of that, and I have no idea where it went. I have no idea what happened to that guitar, if it got stolen or who knows what. And then Mom went to, she started working, and she decided to pick me up a guitar that was decent. And she went to this place called Spiotti's Music in Connecticut, Watertown. And she went and picked up a guitar from me, and it was this one. This is a Grand Prix Stratocaster, and you'll see throughout throughout this video that my history with black and white Stratocasters is varied. I've had so many of them. I mean, I've had so many Strats. I've had more Strats than Les Pauls apparently throughout my early time. Now is different, but you'll see as time goes by. But this was a really, really cool guitar, and it was just so new to me. And I started to learn stuff from the 80s, like Tears for Fears and stuff like that. And it was really, I played Talking Heads on it and stuff like that, and just had a lot of fun with it. It was just an excellent guitar, and I took that into the late 80s. I played that guitar from the mid 80s to the late 80s, and then joined a band, another band actually, and it was a kind of a hard rock band. And single coils don't really go with hard rock per se, or at least they didn't back then, because we had regular amplification, but we didn't have any kind of spectacular amplification that could model and really, really get it to sound good for hard rock. So I ended up basically changing my look and grabbing this guitar, and this was my my first Les Paul. It was a Cort. This isn't the exact one, of course. This is just a copy that somebody was selling, but that's basically what it looked like. I mean, that thing's missing a bunch of hardware and stuff, but it was a black Cort Les Paul, and I loved that guitar. It was a lot of fun, and I never should have traded it in, but I was in my 20s, and you know how it goes. When you're in your 20s, your life just keeps moving for you. So I played that guitar, and this is the guy who I was back then. And there I was playing a Flying V, which you'll see in a second here. That was a group called Divine Right I was in, and I wrote a good deal of the music for Divine Right. I had a really terrible fashion sense, but it was the late 80s. Everybody was like that. I had a big mop of hair, and we had a lot of fans, played to a lot of people. I started playing to crowds of like hundreds and sometimes thousands, and it was great. We were opening for big bands. We were doing a lot of cool stuff, and that kind of fell through. That's a long story too, but I'll tell that story someday. I don't know, whenever. But yeah, that kind of fell through. But here's the guitar I was playing. This was not the exact one. This is something somebody's selling, and this is a Hondo Flying V. And this thing was pretty cool. Not a bad guitar. Not bad. And it's going for a lot of money now. And I should have held on to it, but I didn't. And I forgot to get a picture of the big giant Gibson SG amp I was playing back then. The thing was colossal. It looked like a stove. It had big giant dials on it. It had 4 12-inch or 4 8-inch or 10-inch speakers. I can't remember what it had. but it was a pretty big amp, weighed about 100 and something pounds. Then I changed over to a PV Encore, which is a small tube amp. Both of these were tube amps, and they were just very, very, very cool amplifiers. Sorry about that. The phone never stops ringing. We've got like telemarketers constantly. And of course, now that it's political season, the phone just continually rings. Anyway, sorry for that interruption. Continuing on. So, yeah, the Flying V was a lot of fun, and the amps I had for it were pretty cool. I used a DoD Overdrive Plus amplifier, and I used not amplifier, a stomp pedal, and I used a DoD, I think it was a 6-band EQ equalizer pedal, to get rid of the feedback, because the Overdrive Plus did a great job of bringing up that gain so I could play that hard rock stuff. We played a lot of Metallica and stuff like that, and so I decided, okay, well, this is really feeding back really bad, and I can't get up to the gain I want, so I went and picked up an EQ pedal and destroyed the feedback and was able to get as much gain as I possibly could from that setup. And it served me well. Served me well for a while. So then I moved on from that. Times went by, I went into the 90s and stuff, and I started playing another black and white Strat. Went right back to the beginning again. This is a Squier. This is a Bullet. I still have this guitar to this day. I've modified it with I've taken that entire pickguard and replaced it, all the electronics, because the pickups on the Squier Bullets are very weak. They're very weak pickups, and it's really hard to play, the stuff that, with any kind of bite to it with these weak pickups. So I traded them off and replaced it with a $20 or $25 Alnico 5 loaded pickguard, which has, that whole white part there, completely replaced, and it had all the electronics already pre-installed. All I had to do was unsolder 3 wires and solder 3 wires in, and there you go. And now it sounds like an awesome Stratocaster. The thing is incredible, and you can hear it on several of my videos. Excellent guitar. This is my Monoprice Les Paul. Believe it or not, Monoprice was making these really, really nice Les Pauls, but apparently the headstock was a little too close to Gibson, and Gibson, of course, started throwing a hissy fit. So they completely changed. You won't find this kind of style anymore, and I don't have a picture of the headstock offhand, but it looks a lot like the Gibson headstock, and it's a little bit too close for comfort. And with what Gibson's been doing lately in the lawsuit department, it's no surprise. So anyway, they changed it, and I'd picked this up at a used instrument store where I'd been trading guitars to for years and years and years while I was in the bands during the 80s, and I went and bought this from the guy who owns the place, and it was $100. And what he didn't realize, I don't know, maybe they just didn't look at it. They kind of looked at it, was like, Monoprice, what a piece of junk, and then just stuck it in some corner somewhere. They didn't realize somebody put Gibson pickups on this thing. Why, I don't know. It's a solid piece of wood, though. This thing is heavy. It weighs a good 15 pounds, and so it's definitely as much a Les Paul as it possibly can be. I replaced that toggle switch up there, right there, in the upper left-hand corner of it, and it's really, really a nice guitar. Not a bad Les Paul at all, and I play it as much as I can, occasionally, basically, because I've got so many guitars now. It's like tough to decide which one to play. And those of you who have GAS, which is Gear Acquisition Syndrome, you know exactly what I mean when you don't know which guitar you want to play. Alright, moving on. I picked up this. This is an Ibanez GRX70QA, I believe. And I got this from Butler Music through Reverb. And I paid only $115 for it because it has blemishes. It has like all sorts of tears in it, and there's like a a real big big scrape off of one side of it, and it doesn't matter to me. The thing plays like a dream. It's a great guitar. It's excellent. It's a lot of fun. It's got a great action, and there's nothing wrong with it. So, and then I went and got this. This isn't, of course, not an actual picture of the guitar, but this is the exact model. This is an Ibanez GSA 60. I got this on OfferUp. I was looking on OfferUp, and somebody had one of these guitars for like $100, and I asked him if he'd take 70 for it, and because he had it there for a while, nobody seemed to want it, and so he said, "Well, give me 75 for it." And I was like, done. So I gave him 75 and picked it up. I replaced the humbucker down the bottom where the bridge is, where the whammy bar is, with a $7 pickup I got on eBay. It's a cream and black zebra pickup, and the thing, it's like a hexbucker. Excuse me, and it's just incredible. The sound, the feel of this guitar. This is my go-to guitar for a lot of things, and I enjoy it. Just a great guitar, and I spent a whole total of, you figure 75 and then $82 to have a guitar that sounds as nice as any $1,000 Ibanez, $1,000 plus. And I set up all my guitars. I do all the fretwork. I do the string height adjustments. I set the intonations. I clean the things. I upgrade the electronics where I have to. I upgrade the tuning pegs up there where I have to. The tuning machines. Fix the nut on them so that so that the strings slide through nice and easily and don't catch. And I upgrade just about every piece of hardware on them. And honestly, for very little money, you can have a guitar that sounds just as good as a $1,000 Ibanez for pennies compared to that. I mean, this guitar, $82, and it sounds just as good. I'll put it up against any Prestige, any. I don't care what they are, and they're just incredible. And when you can upgrade and you can learn how to set up your own guitars, learn how to do upgrades, things like that. It doesn't cost that much for upgrades, and you do your own setups. You're going to save yourself $100 or more, instead of paying some guitar tech to do it. And it's your own work. And this is something you created, so it's a sense of pride as well. Moving on from that, I got this wonderful piece of hardware from Amazon for $140. This is a Firefly semi-hollow body. It's basically a Gibson ES 335 copy. And this thing is amazing. It's a great guitar. The only reason I don't play it very often is because it's big. And it's kind of hard to get it into the camera, and it's kind of hard to play it in a living space I've got when it's that big. It's it's got the big bottom on it, and it's a great guitar. Excellent guitar. It's good for just about any type of music. It does really well with the soft rock stuff, and I've done a lot of 70s stuff and 80s stuff with it, and even some newer stuff. I've done a lot of Foo Fighters stuff with it, and it's very versatile. Very nice guitar. And here I went and I looked on eBay, or not eBay, Craigslist, and I found this guy selling 2 guitars, and he was local to me, and he had the Les Paul, this Les Paul 100, it's an Epiphone Les Paul 100, basically a Gibson Les Paul Studio made in a different place. That's all it is. And he also had this, and this thing is just a blast to play. This is an Epiphone SG Special, and these guitars, this one was $125, and this one was $100. So for $225, I got 2 incredible guitars. And I've also replaced the humbucker on this one. I replaced it with the bridge version, or the neck version of that hexbucker, because I got the Hexbuckers in a pair. So I decided, hey, why don't I put the, since the SGs have kind of a dirty kind of sound, I'll put it in there, and I did, and it's great. It's excellent. It's just got a beautiful sound, and it's a joy to play. I love my SG. I keep it on my right at all times. It's a guitar I will grab just like instantly. So yeah, there's that. And I also named this one. I named this guitar Ace. I mean, I have names for some of my guitars, and I named this one Ace because this is a Kiss guitar. It plays the Kiss songs perfectly, and it's like it was tailor-made for it. So anyway, we're moving on from them. The guy who I bought the guitars from, he actually threw in a bunch of strings and some other stuff too. Strings, picks. I mean, he threw in a big bag full of accessories and stuff, and it was awesome. I mean, what a deal. For $225. Big bag of accessories and two wonderful, amazing guitars. I mean, how could you go wrong? Just scour Craigslist. You'll find deals on there eventually. I mean, there's a lot of people on Craigslist who are sitting there and stupidly charging retail for their guitars and over it. And I see their guitars sit for years almost. Definitely months. And they're not going to sell them. If you're going to sell a guitar on Craigslist, you have to sell it at something of a deal. If you're selling it for brand new prices, then people are just going to go to the store and buy them. Why are they going to buy them from you? Take the chance of either, who knows what could happen with Craigslist. I mean, we've heard many horror stories. But people still, they want to charge these ridiculous prices on Craigslist. And you can weed through them. Just a little knowledge, check prices. Always check prices to see what, how their price matches up to what you can get it for used in any place like Guitar Center or, or wherever, So, always check. Always check. So, moving on from that, I got this guitar. This is a Jackson JS22 Dinky. I do not like that name, but it is what it is. It's a Dinky arch top. Beautiful, beautiful guitar. My friend Brandy claimed it as her own, so she had me name it after her because she loves the sound of it, and it's a wonderful guitar. It's just awesome. This guitar will play the Journey stuff and the 80s arena rock to beat the band. It just does everything, and it's very versatile. The Jackson guitars are amazing, and I'm honored to own two of them, this one and another one, which you'll see. And I bought this one. This one was $199, I believe, from Zounds, ZZOUNDS. Excellent music store, online music store. I highly recommend them. They have payment plans, and that's how I buy my equipment. I use the payment plans, and it's awesome. I can get stuff that I can't afford today, but I just pay them their payments every month. They get done. There's no interest. There's no credit check on the 6 payment plans, which is what I use, and my credit's in the toilet anyway, so it helps a great deal. And I've gotten some really awesome guitars and amazing equipment through them, as you'll see. And there's the other guitar I got at the exact same time from them. This is a Squier Affinity Telecaster, and this guitar is a marvel. I play all sorts of stuff with this. This handles that 80s kind of soft sound perfectly. It has that twang. It has that kind of quacky, kind of stratty thing going on. And it's just wonderful. Handles the Police stuff, Men at Work, the Fix, you name it. It handles it, and it handles it so well. This is a Tom Petty guitar for sure. And I do a lot of Tom Petty stuff with this guitar. This guitar cost me $199, and it's worth every single penny. I would put this Telecaster up against anything around. Anything that has the same type of pickups. It's just beautiful. I mean, the thing is amazing. I couldn't say more nice things about it. I mean, I just couldn't say enough nice things about it is what I'm trying to say. Just excellent. $199, and this guitar is phenomenal. There's a reason it's so popular on Zounds, where I got it, Zounds.com, is because it's just a great guitar, incredible, and they're constantly being sold. So, moving on, I got this Glary acoustic for $40 from eBay, brand new, and it's great. Glarry makes some really good guitars. They're an excellent guitar company. They're a Chinese brand. They're basically kind of unknown, and it doesn't matter at all. Their stuff is great. If you know how to set up things, I mean, any guitar you get, even the expensive Gibsons and Fenders and everything else, is going to need a setup. Or at least, you're going to have to fine tune it. And so anything you get, you're going to have to work on no matter what. So these guitars are very pliable. They're very easy to work on. And I got this thing to play very nicely. And it's an excellent acoustic guitar. And it was $40. I mean, how could you go wrong? I mean, unless it's a piece of junk. So, anyway, moving on from that, I got this one off of OfferUp, and I had to do a little bit with the picture. I had to increase the blue because the guitar kept coming out green on the camera phone. Don't ask me why. It's just one of those things. This is an Epiphone Les Paul Special 2 Plus. Limited edition, it's a big name, and this has got the maple top. It's basically a Les Paul Studio, like the Les Paul 100 I've got, and it's incredible. What a great guitar that my wife calls. She called it Blues Clues for the longest time because of its light blue color. I call it Neptune because the way the maple top looks, it looks like whatever pictures I've ever seen of Neptune. And it's just a great guitar. And I got it for $115 off of OfferUp. It needed a little bit of work when I got it. It was a mess, but it was just an excellent guitar. Once it got cleaned up and set up and everything working fine on it, the fretwork done, the thing's incredible. Has a beautiful sound. I can't complain at all. Just an awesome guitar, and it's on many of my videos. And here is a Harley Benton SC 450 Plus. This thing is, for all intents and purposes, a Les Paul. Fully. It's a wonderful guitar. It has incredible sound. It has coil splitting. You can coil split the humbuckers and make them into single coils each just by flicking those two. You just lift up on those two volume knobs and they click. And it's so versatile. You can do just about anything with this guitar, and it's got an incredible sound. Those Roswell pickups on it are absolutely top notch. The workmanship in this guitar is top notch. I love this guitar, and I got it was bought for me by my wife for $86 shipped, mind you, and she saw it, she loved it, she wanted me to get it, and so I named it after her. She said, you're going to name it, because her nickname is Jules, and so she said, call it Sunset Jules, because the color looks like a sunset, like a California sunset where she's from. And excellent guitar, just wonderful. What the best Les Paul I've ever owned, ever, and best Les Paul I've ever played. And I've played actual Les Pauls. I mean, full-on expensive, vintage 70s, 80s, 90s, current Les Pauls. And they don't feel like this. This thing feels like butter. I mean, it's so smooth. And it's so excellent, so easy to play, and so well made. Thomann is an excellent company. I can't say enough nice things about them. They have excellent guitars. They have just an excellent community outreach. And they're just fantastic. And I will buy more guitars from them in the future as I can afford them. Perhaps. And as I can fit them, because I'm kind of running out of space. So, moving on from that beauty, we have this. I got this from Zounds.com, ZZOUNDS.com. This is an ESP LTD Viper 10. This is a beast. This guitar is named Molly because the body reminds me of a black molly fish, and so it's just a powerful guitar. I'm sorry the picture isn't very clear. Camera phones are camera phones, but it's just, this guitar is powerful. I played a lot of Motley Crue with it, a bit of Foo Fighters, Slayer, you name it, this guitar can do it. And those ESP design pickups are no slouches. Those are really, really cool, and it's just a very powerful, and it's a very heavy guitar too. So this is a solid piece of work. It's excellent. And I got this for 180 bucks. And that was it. And it was free shipping a day. We had off of Zounds. I got it for free 1-day shipping, so it got to me the next day. Incredible. You can't go wrong. And here is my other Jackson. This one I named Cherry Bomb after my wife's red hair. And it's one of her favorite guitars, if not her absolute favorite guitar that I own. It's got a very red, sparkly kind of, it's got that metallic paint job. I got this from Zounds, another 1-day shipper. And it was $150. Can you believe it? And this guitar is powerful. It's just, it's versatile too. It plays the Queensryche stuff. It plays Journey. It plays anything. Anything you put in front of it, it will do. As long as it requires humbuckers, it'll do it. And it's just very cool. And this is my second go-to guitar that I reach for whenever I'm, playing stuff. And so, excellent. 150 bucks. It's just incredible. And I could pay it in installments. And I'm still paying it off. But, it is what it is. Finances are what they are. But awesome guitar. It's the Jackson JS11 Dinky. Yes, another Dinky. 150 bucks. Beautiful guitar. And I got this one from Zounds.com. This is another $150 guitar. This is an Epiphone Les Paul Special Vintage Edition. It's got the matte kind of coloring. It's not the shiny kind of matte paint job, or the shiny paint job. It's just a matte paint job, like a satin. And it's very, very cool. Very cool guitar. And I've upgraded those pickups with 2 pickups I got off of eBay that are Zebra pickups, and the sound is just incredible. And it's got a very fat neck on it, and so it's definitely a specific guitar for specific stuff. And it's great. It has a great sound. I play a lot of Boston on it. It's in a lot of my videos, and you'll see it. You can see it in any one of my videos. So moving on from that, this I got, my wife and I were shopping on Craigslist, and just for shits and giggles, we were sitting there, and I'm not monetized anyway, so I couldn't get demonetized. So, but anyway, so for shits and giggles, we decided, okay, we're gonna just look on Craigslist and see what we can find, just for the heck of it, for laughs. And we found this guitar for $30. $30. It's an Ariana Strat. It's nothing to write home about. It's your basic Strat. It's nothing spectacular, but it's got a nice low action to it. When I got it, there was some rust on the pickups. I mean, it had been neglected because apparently, I usually end up with guitars from people that they want to learn how to play and then they don't. So they give up. And the gig bag came with it too. And it's got a broken zipper. It needs to be repaired, but whatever. Time we'll get that done in time. But anyway, so I got this guitar, $30, $30, mind you, and I upgraded it. I decided, okay, well, I'm going to get it back to the house, and I'm going to upgrade the pick guard, like I did my other Strat, with something else. Now, these pickups weren't bad. When I did play these, and I got the strings changed over, and I did the setup and did the heights and things like that, did the intonation, these pickups weren't bad. So I'm holding on to that pick guard for maybe another project someday. But they're nice and strong, not bad at all. But I decided, I've got to have a humbucker at the bridge. So I changed it over, and there we go. I put that shiny pick guard on it. The guitar's name is Samara, after my wife's daughter, and basically my stepdaughter. And so the guitar is just, it's incredible. It does the Eddie Van Halen stuff like you wouldn't believe. It sounds like a Frankenstrat. I'm shocked by that, but it just has this incredible Frankenstrat sound, and just awesome. And it's given me ideas for future projects. I may make a Frankenstrat. I may buy a cheap Strat off of eBay and then bring it, have it, after it gets delivered, just strip it of all its hardware and just paint it up like a Frankenstrat and put on the Frankenstrat pickups and or things like of that nature or something else. But that's an idea for the future. But that pick guard cost me what, $20? So for $50, $50, I have a nice Strat that sounds like a Frankenstrat, and it's incredible. It's very versatile as well, and it plays like nobody. You barely have to touch the strings, press down. The action is so nice. So there it is, the $80 guitar, or $50 guitar. Sorry, that's it. $50, $30 on Craigslist, $20 pick guard, a little bit of elbow grease, setting it up, done. You don't need a $1,000 guitar. You don't need a $3,000 guitar. You don't need a $5,000 guitar. It's not necessary. You can take these cheaper guitars and you can make them into something cool. It's all it takes is just a little bit of work and a little bit of knowledge, and it doesn't have a huge cost tied to it. So don't worry if you're a budget guitarist. Don't let anybody ever shame you into thinking, oh, well, all you got is copies, man. You don't have a PRS, or you don't have an actual Gibson. You haven't got an actual Fender, and you don't have this giant expensive thing that I spent all my money on. They're just justifying their prices. They're justifying that they wasted all their money. That's all they're doing. You don't need it. It's not important. Learn how to play guitar on guitars that are cheaper. They sound just as good. You can make them just as good for very little cost. You don't need a $5,000 guitar. Nobody does. Unless they're like very wealthy musicians. Anyway, moving on. So now that's the end of the guitars. Now here we go with the amps. This is an amp I have somewhere buried. And it's not a bad amp, not spectacular, but it served its purpose for the time I used it. It's just practice amp. I don't play out anymore. I've gotten too old, and after my stroke, I just don't, I don't get in front of crowds anymore. So there's this not a bad amp, little modeler. It's got different types of distortion modeling. Not spectacular, but it's all right. It gets the job done. This I got next. This is a Peavey Viper VIP 1. Excellent guitar amp. I can't say enough nice things about it. It has so many different types of sounds and effects in it. And this was like this was like $100. This is $150. And look at how much more it's got on it. So for $50 more, an excellent amp. And I've always liked Peavey, and they're just great. Fantastic. This amp, excellent guitar amp. I highly recommend it for bedroom playing. It's cool. It's a bit bigger than your usual. It's not too huge, but it's big enough. Let's see. Excellent amp. Excellent. Really, really cool. And it doesn't have a high wattage either. I think it's like a 20, but it's pretty ballsy, pretty loud. And I got this Marshall off of Zounds, and I regretted it. But I still have it. Just because it says Marshall on it, I just decided, whatever, I'll keep it. These amps are just, the MG series are just, bleh. They're just, people talk down about the Spider amps, and I have a Spider amp, which you'll see. But these small Marshalls are much, much worse. I mean, yeah, it's okay, it's passable. If you can't afford anything else, yeah, I would still go with something else, honestly, because there's another amp in the collection that's a lot better than this and costs the same price. And this is it. The Vox VX1. This amp is incredible. It's only $100, mind you, and it does dual rectifier sound. I am not kidding you. It has a nice bass response for such a small amp and a small speaker. The bass response in this little amp is incredible, and it's all plastic. Every bit of it is plastic, but it just sounds really, really great. And it's got all different effects. It's got chorus, it's got flanger, it's got vibrato, the typical, effects package on these modeling amps. But this is my go-to practice amp for whenever I want to fart around with a new guitar or whatever. And I'm going to be picking up more. I want to pick up a Roland Cube. I want to check out the Boss Katanas. I just want to see what these amps are all about. And we don't have any music stores around anywhere that sell anything brand new, at least local to me. So it's like I would have to drive a great distance to test these amps. So it's pretty much trial and error when I buy them. And this one was a good gamble. It's the Vox VX1. Excellent. Got it on Zounds. It's just, I can't say enough nice things about it. Excellent amplifier. And then we got this. This came with the Stratocaster that was $30. They said, "Hey, you want an amp?" I was just like, my wife and I were just looking at each other like, "Well, how much?" $50. Okay, we'll take it. It's a Spider 3. It's the much hated Spider 3. I have no problems with it. It's a passable amp. It's not bad. There's nothing really, really wrong with it. It's a hell of a lot better than that little Marshall. And it just does what it does. I mean, you got to expect that this is not a gigging amp. This isn't a spectacular amp for doing all sorts of things. But it does have its pluses. It has some minuses, but the thing has a Celestion in it, a Celestion speaker in it. And you can also put a cab under it, and it's not bad. You can monkey with it, and it's a good pedal amp. You can throw pedals into it, and that's not bad either. You just have to. I mean, I don't go with the elite stuff. People being elites and stuff like that, and this doesn't sound right, or this doesn't sound exactly perfect. It's not. A lot of amps sound different than each other. It's just the way it goes. And you can monkey with it, instead of just giving up on it, you can monkey with it. And I don't have any problem with this. This is actually a fun amp to mess with. So, and it's powerful, it's loud. It's only a 30 watt, and I got it for $50. So hey, it's fine with me. Next. Now, this is the main thing I do. I work with Guitar Rig. I don't work for them. This is what I use for a lot of my songs recordings, and this is what I use to do my covers and things like that on YouTube, because this has got every amp known to man. Basically, a lot of these modelers have every amp, and so you can take these amps like this one. You can create your own. You can create a sound basically from scratch. You can sit there and find out what the pros used and use the digital equivalent. And I have. And this is the Eddie Van Halen sound. I was working on this for weeks, just trying to kind of nail it down, because I wasn't really sure what I was doing or where I was going. So then I just did a whole bunch of research instead of just kind of fumbling around in the dark trying to figure out where what he was using and where he was playing and stuff. I did some research, matched up what he was using, did a few adjustments here and there, and there you go, the Eddie Van Halen sound. And it's on my videos. You can see it on my videos. And this is Bias FX 2. I also use this. This is the Foo Fighters setting. Pretty good sound, actually excellent sound, and you can monkey with this like nobody's business and create some really great sounds with Bias FX. I highly recommend it. Very good stuff. Very good stuff. And this is just another thing I created on Bias FX 2. This is a Leonard Skinner effects setup. I created this from scratch. Just really cool stuff. And it sounds like Skinner. They used the 69 Marshall Plexis, and they used the choruses and boosters, and they used phasers at times, reverb definite, and I have noise gates on it. I have noise gate on it, so excellent stuff. Just really cool. So that's basically my presentation. This is who I am. This is what I own. This is what I've done. This is my personal beliefs. This is everything. So now you know everything you need to know about me, about what I believe in musically, about as far as guitar playing goes. And thank you for, if you've gotten this far, thank you for watching this video, because it was fun to put together. My apologies again for the telephone ringing interruption. Those telemarketers are getting really bad lately. And the political calls are getting so annoying. Now I know why people don't have landlines, but hey, we still live in the dark ages here, so we have a landline as well as cell phones. So anyway, that's about it. Thank you for watching. If you like the video, please click the like button, and if you like my stuff, subscribe. You know, I don't do this for money. I just do this for fun. It's a hobby. I haven't been in the music business for a long time, but I was in it for almost 30 years. So it's been a long, strange trip, that's for sure, as the Grateful Dead say. And thank you for watching. Have a good day.